Your VectorWorks guide looking at 3D tools. So as we get started, just a few things that we're going to be using today. So if we come up here to our tabs up here, we're going to be definitely using the model tab a lot and also the view tab. So we're going to be coming back to these quite a bit. We're also going to be using this drop down menu. So right now it's showing us we're in top plan. That's how we're looking at our paper. So we're looking at it at a top down view. But if I drop down here, I can change it to any view, where I can go to front. It's not that exciting right now since there's nothing on here, so you're really not gonna see the change, but you can kind of see isometric is gonna give you more of that 3D view, where all the other ones are gonna give you that front on view, so a little bit more flat. And the last tool that we're adding to our toolbox today is this flyover tool. And this you can use to custom your view, whatever you're viewing. And up here you'll see that it does change to custom view, and then you can always drop back down and change it to whatever you'd like. So those are some tools to get us oriented. And now let's start extruding some stuff. I like top plan because it makes my page have all those less lines. So top gives you some more lines, top plan, fresh page. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead here and make a rectangle. Don't really care how big it is. And then I'm gonna come up here to my model tab and do extrude. So this little dialog box is gonna pop up. The X and Y, right? These are the size of my rectangle. I could change these in here if I wanted. But I'm going to set my extrusion. So let's go with 8 feet. Huge rectangle. All right, so it doesn't look a whole lot different until I'm gonna come bring my flyover tool. Wow, now we can see it's got some depth to it. Wow, that's amazing. So right now we're also in wireframe view. So that's we're just seeing the outline of all of our shapes. If you come up here to the view tab, you can go to rendering, see we're highlighted in wireframe with a little check. We can go to shaded, and now our object looks solid. Pretty cool. Also, if we come look over here on our object info palette, we're on the shape tab. We have all of our regular data that we would expect, and then we also have this bot Z. So that is where the bottom of your shape is. So it automatically starts at 0, right? So it is completely in line with your graph paper. And then you can come in here and you can change that if you want to raise it up in the air. Woo! So that is also helpful to know where you are in space and time. Another really important thing to know when you're extruding is that the plane that you're on when you extrude matters. So right, we did this in the top plan view, and then I extruded it to 8 feet, and it extruded it in this front view. So if I were to, let me make it perfectly in the front view. If I were to make a rectangle, let's say here, okay, that looks pretty comparable to this rectangle we have over here. And now I'll go back over to my extrude, or nice keyboard shortcut, Command E, and I extrude that to 8 feet. Oh wow, see, it's not changing in this plane. It's going to change when we go to our top plan view, right? So we can see we've got two different types of rectangles now because of the plane that we extruded it on. All right, so that's extrusion. It works on all of your shapes. You can do it with any of your basic shapes and also any of your, freehand, polyline, polygon, as long as you have a fully connected shape. It won't extrude if there's any sort of gap or break in your 2D shape that you're working with. And also, we always want to remember that we have to have it be, the fill be solid when we're trying to extrude. All right, so coming back here to my, I keep going to top. I'm going to top plan. This is your basic extrude, and there are some other ways that we can extrude as well, or do with our extruded shapes. So now that I have two shapes here, I'm going to move this one on top of this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and kind of get our center on our center using our smart points. And now, if I use Shift and highlight both of these, come up to model, we have a lot more options available to us. So I'm going to start with add solid. And now if we go around, oh wow, look, they are now two solids combined with each other. I like to go to my shaded view, see how this is. All right, so now this is one unit. I can move this around however I want. This is different than grouping and ungrouping. These are now this is now one shape. This can be really helpful when you're trying to build maybe things that are funkier shapes, or you're trying to give dimension to things, or even when you are texturing. So take a pause over here and go to texturing for just a second. So we've got our shape highlighted, and we come over here to render, and we can add so many different textures, right? We saw over here in fill, we could add some kind of pattern, some of these things, but over here, if we go to texture, we can add so much more. So we're gonna go to this menu, texture, and we're gonna do texture, and then, so right now mine was set to velour curtains because that was the last texture I used. But if I go to this double arrow, I can come in and I have so many different options, right? I've got concrete, wood floor, hardscaping, that's like grass and stuff, masonry work. I really liked the tile that I was playing with. There we go. And so if I double click, then it'll apply. And now I have some really cool, it's like that pool tile all over. Some other fun things you can do with your texture if you scroll down a little bit. Map type, this isn't helpful in like a lot of situations, but you can change how your texture is applied, right? So if we're doing it like a sphere, just kidding, it doesn't work with a sphere, but a cylinder, it's like, oh, we're pretending this is like a cylinder. Anyway, so that can be really helpful. What's more fun, in my opinion, is this scale and rotation, right? So I can see this is at 1, and I have the ability to either make these tiles way smaller, or I can make these tiles bigger. So that is really fun, and also rotation, so I can change the way they're lying. So changing them right 180 degrees wouldn't be that exciting, or even 90 degrees, but putting them on a diagonal, that can be really interesting. So we've got scale and rotation. I'll leave that at 0 though. So that's our texture over here. So we just go over to the render. We want to make sure our texture is checked next to that, and then we have our world of possibilities open to us over here. All right, so jumping back into that extrude page. One other thing I'd like to note is that when you add solids together, at this time, I am unaware of a way to unadd them together, right? So if we look up at our menu up here, we can see subtract solids. That is not the opposite of add solids. So I can't see, it's not even, I have this highlighted, and that's not even an option for me right now. Subtract solids is a different property that we can do. So let me get myself set up, and I can show you what subtract solids does. All right, so gonna get these. So also I want to show you, if I highlight both of these and do extrude, sure, 8 feet, great. They're now linked together. Can I ungroup them? Yes. So that can be a nice way to extrude a bunch of things at one time, but you do just want to remember that they will come out grouped, but you can always ungroup them. All right, so anyways, I'm going to line these two up. I don't really like how big I made this one, so I'm going to shrink this a little bit. Put that back over. All right, so now I'm going to do highlight both of these, go back up to my model, subtract solids. Okay, and here we go. Now we have an open hole in the middle, so easier to see in the shaded view. Oh, that didn't work. This should be an open hole. This happens sometimes to me, and I'm not quite sure. Let's see, these are probably... Oh, because I hit... This is why. All right, let me show you again. I think this is why. 8 feet short. I've got to get back to my selection tool. Okay, model, subtract solid. All right, I think it stayed because I said retain subtracting solid, but let's see if that was really the culprit. That was the culprit. So in order to have this fully open hole in the center, you're going to want to not retain the solids. It is important the way in which you highlight your solids that will affect the subtracting of it. So you always go from inside to outside. Try it the other way, see what happens. But this is that. So again, not the most exciting when you're subtracting rectangles from each other. Maybe there's applications, but both adding and subtracting can help you to make some more interesting and funky shapes. All right, what else have we got up here? Oh, okay, we've got tapered extrude and sweep. Oh, it looks like this is already highlighted, so I can do a tapered extrude with this. So, oh, it's illegal. Just kidding. I won't do that. That'll pop up when it gets mad at you. So I'll just come over here, do this really fast. Command E, 8 feet. Sure, why not? Oh, because I forgot to. You can't taper extrude something that's already extruded. So let me go back. Taper extrude. Okay, so now it's going to ask me how much am I extruding this, and the taper angle, right? So again, let's see if make this 8 feet at a 5-degree angle. So now we have a very, very what would this be? Kind of a trapezoidal shape. And move around here. So, yeah. Another thing that's interesting, come over here to shape. I can always adjust what my angle is. Let's see what happens if I do 25 degrees. Oh, wow, that gives me a sharper angle. If it's a little shorter, that didn't really affect the angle. This is not a tool that I use very often, so I'm not great at the ratios. But it's a fun tool to play around with and can be useful depending on what your design is. All right, so this last one to me is the craziest and also one of the most fun and interesting. So I'm going to grab my polyline tool. I'm going to draw something pretty crazy. So bear with me for a second. I'm just going to make a weird shape. Okay, so I've got this funky shape, and now I'm going to do model sweep. And it's going to only start with a quarter sweep. I'm going to want it to sweep all the way around. Now I have this really cool, really weird shape. And see again how I said it's really important the way or the plane that you do it on. So in my mind, I was thinking, oh, I'm drawing the top of a banister. That's what I wanted this to be. But now it's actually, so right, this looked good from the top. I'm like, oh, great, this is exactly what I want. But if I go to the front view, it's laying on its side. So that's really not how I would actually want my banister to be positioned. So this is a great example of how your plane matters. But anyways, you can draw some pretty cool and interesting things by using the sweep tool. So let me just double check. Yes, I did all of the relevant, not going to save because this is just an example, ways that we can extrude from our basic shapes. Now we also have the ability to use some made 3D objects. So if I come down here to my tool sets and I go to this little house picture, what's this called? Building shell. There's 4 really helpful and important tools in here. So first is wall. Pretty self-explanatory. This will build you walls. So I can go, and as long as I don't double click, like with that polyline tool, I can continue to build walls. So there we go. 3D walls. Bada bing, bada boom. Don't even have to extrude. Come over here, they're always going to be auto-populated to be 6-inch thick walls and 10-foot high walls. Just like with everything else, we can totally change this. Let's see, 3 inches, that's a bit more standard. 10 feet, not grand enough. Let's go 15 feet. And, you know, again, I can also change it. Oh, I want this to be 9 inches off the ground. That is very silly, but so we've got our walls. Finally remembering how to use the keyboard Command-Shift-G to shade this. Not very exciting. We can also go into our render, add textures to this, all of the same things. What we can also add to these walls are some doors and windows. So I'm going to go back to my top view. I'm going to select a door and come in here, and it will see how it changes. It's like, oh, you're in a wall. So this will build the door into my wall. So I'll double click that. Now if we go to our front view, we should see, oh wow, look, a door. All right, it's not a very exciting door, pretty flat and boring actually. So if I double click this, I can come in here and really customize the door that I have. Right, so I can change so many things about it. Oh, I want a Gothic style top shape. I don't know why this is my favorite thing. Oh no, operation, that's my favorite thing. No, just kidding, it was configuration, is how your door moves. So right, we could have just an opening. That's literally nothing, it's a hole in the wall. But you can have really cool sliding barn doors, folding doors. So you can have a lot of fun with what you can do with your doors, which I think is really fun. You also, actually I'm going to go back to a more simple door, just a swing. There's so many things you can add to it. You can add lights on either side of it. Wow, really cool. You can add hardware, so you can do all sorts of different types of, we can see the door handle is changing over there. So there's so many things we can play with. Our leaves, so we can have, make our doors really cool, right? So let's see, vertical panels, 6, horizontal panels, 6. Is it gonna do that? Oh, that's an insane door. No one would actually have this door, but so I hit enter, so that took me out of all my choices and brought me back into where I am. So I made the craziest looking door, but there you go. And if we go back to this top view, this is showing you how it's opening. So that's really important when you're putting the placement in of how which way the door is opening, right? So this is showing you this is the door, and this is how it's opening. So it's opening to the back of the wall. We can do a very similar thing with our window tool. Just come in here, grab that, throw a window in there. Oop, it didn't stick. All right, so we can go front. Oh, look, what a cool window. And again, if we double click on that, this will pop up, and again we can do change all of those things about the window. Circle, octagon, can also configuration. Again, this is what I love, like, oh, a hung, a sliding, right? So we can choose what type of window we're having. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted fixed glass. Other fun things over here, right? We can add, we can do sill details, trim details. These are trim details is on the door too. I love this, having the muttons added. So those are your lines that you can add to windows. You can add shutters. So anyways, there's lots of really fun things that you can do with your window. Also, since windows can really be anywhere in your wall, right? A door needs to be at the bottom of the wall. You can change how big your window is. Oh, I didn't mean to exit out of that. Well, while I'm here, I'm going to pop into this for a second. So back to general. Oh, right, here we are. So width and height, you can change how big your door is, right? If I wanted like a huge door, that would be insane. I'm just making a garage door basically. So you can change the height and width of that. Same thing with your window. And then elevation and wall, this is where the window is being placed in your wall. Also important to notice your elevation reference. So right now this is saying head of window. The top of my window is going to be 6'8" in my wall. But you can also do sill of the window, so that means the bottom of your window is going to be at 6'8". So if we see that difference, now, right, bottom of our window is in line with the top of our door. We are creating the craziest house right now. All right, so that's window and door, really fun to play around with. And we also have simple stair. Okay, so if I throw this in, all right, we've got a staircase here. I'm gonna go do a little bit of a more interesting view to look at this. Highlight or shade that. All right, so we go over here to shape. I like looking at this one over here on this panel. If you double, oh, that's why I do it, because you can't double click into it like the other ones. But there's still a lot of things that you can do to change your stair. So first, style, you can change how it is. Open riser, standard, the width of your stairs. So yeah, how wide your tread is. This is a very grand staircase, 6 feet wide. This took me a while to realize this was saying floor to floor height. I said fur to fur for a long time, but it's floor to floor. So where, how tall are your floors in between? Like where are your stairs taking you from 0 to what height? So this is at 9'1". We could do something like, oh, this is just a split level, whatever. We've got our riser and tread depth, right? This is a number we always want to add to 18, so we can make stairs a lot shallower. We can also make stairs way steeper. This is how you save a lot of room, by making your stairs really steep, right? So we can see our tread depth really can elongate or shrink up those staircases. We also here can control the configuration, so we can do, well, let me make these taller actually, so we can see something more interesting, right? So we've got stairs doubling back, landings, you can do, oh, it's not letting me do a curved landing with this one, but that's okay. Oh, there it is. Curved landing. So we can do a lot of really cool things with that. Trying to show. Curved landing. We can also, with landing tread, change where the landing is. So, oh, it's a lot higher, whatever. Yeah, and then if you come down here, there's just some more things we can add. Railings, the curved. I like to add in draw top tread. So that's making this tread even with the height of the floor that you're walking onto, right? If you stop here, then you're taking one more step onto the floor. It really depends on the design, what you want. So anyways, lots of really fun things to play with your stairs. And again, you can always come over to render and add some texture. This added metal chrome. That's a very ugly texture. All right. Last preset 3D item that I tend to use is over here in our little, I think of it as a spotlight picture, but what's it actually called? Pop up for me. Event design is soft goods. So, right, that's our curtains. So I'm going to come back here to top plan, and we'll pretend, oh, I need a back curtain to hide crossovers behind this wall. So I just draw how long I want it, double click, and now I've got some curtains. If we go over here to shape, this also has, it's like pretty standard. It always will start at 20 feet tall. You can see I've made it 131 feet long. You can always adjust that. That's bigger than our theater. 50 feet, and we don't need to be 20 feet. That can be, I guess our wall was 15, so we'll make that 15 to be the height of our wall. And again, this, you can change this to be where you want to measure your heights from. And there's lots of other fun things that you can add in here. I won't go into all of that, but it's very fun to play around with. All right, so shade this in again. So now we've got this curtain. It's hard to see because it's black, but it does come with fullness in it, meaning it's wavy. It's not fully taut curtain. There you have it. This is your 3D VectorWorks guide. Like, subscribe, follow, share on all your socials. Thank you for coming.